Welcome to episode 14 of season 5 of Gateway Geeks Podcast. This time we are trying a new format while we're stuck inside hiding from both snowstorms and COVID. Sarah is our first daring host to embark on this mission, and in this one she delineates the intricacies of the Omegaverse. Mom, if you're listening, I'm going to advise you to please just skip this episode. If you're not, Mom, here are your hosts, Joe, Tracy, Sarah, and Chris. All right, Sarah, are you ready?
Maybe.
All right. So welcome everybody to the Gateway Geeks Podcast. This is season 5, episode 14. I'm Joe. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jane Connor. I'm doing some stuff today. I don't know who's going next. I was not prepared. I'm getting my presentation ready.
Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Gomillion.
Hi, I'm Chris. My lungs are screwed up, and I apologize now if I sound weird.
Oh, shit. Hopefully Chris doesn't die during the podcast. So for this one,
That's our goal every time.
That is, yeah. No one dies. If we leave no one behind. So for this one, Sarah is going to give us a little presentation. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
And then we're going to respond to it, I guess. We'll leave it at that. I will hand it over to you, Sarah. Please.
Yeah, this is a thing that I've been threatening to do for several months now. You may recall our discussion sometime last year of the Omegaverse lawsuit. And I keep saying that we should do an episode where I get drunk and attempt to explain how the Omegaverse actually works to both my co-hosts and the audience. And so today we're going to do that. I'm having some wine and I've got a PowerPoint presentation ready to go, and we're going to get into that. Let me pull that up and then figure out how to share my screen, because I don't think I've done that before, at least not on this.
Are you using slides or PowerPoint, Sarah?
Slides.
You should just be able to do like the presenter view, and then when you share the screen, share the little screen.
Did you make her the co-host, Joe?
I've got an option to present to a meeting, but I think that's just for like Google Meet rather than Zoom. I think I've got to do share screen through Zoom.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. Welcome to Piping Knot, an explanation of the Omegaverse.
That's amazing.
All right. Y'all can feel free to like jump in at any point if you would like clarification, because like I can see Joe silently losing it. He's muted face.
I did preliminary research, so yeah.
Okay.
Just please proceed.
Okay. I was just gonna say y'all can like jump in for like questions or clarifications at any point, because like honestly, I'm not sure how much of this is gonna make sense. I realized that like I've been so deep in the soup of like fan fiction culture for so long that it's very possible that I will just like throw out some shit that I take as a given and you're all like, what the fuck is that? So like, please ask clarifying questions if you need to, so you do not get lost like on slide 1. All right, let's get started. Into the basics. Omegaverse is a trope originating from fan fiction based around hierarchical, maybe shouldn't have drank for this, biological rules and weird horny body stuff. It is based on bad wolf science. You remember that shit from the 70s about like how alpha packs, like how wolf packs behave with like alphas, betas, and omegas? Yeah, I saw that shit. It originated from like werewolf fic tropes, so like that makes sense. Sometimes in Omegaverse fiction, the characters are literally werewolves, or will more ambiguously just refer to like a wolf that exists inside of them and guides their actions. But most of the time lately, they're just like some people. It really depends on like the universe you are writing in and whether werewolves canonically exist. Like that's really the situation.
So I already have a clarifying question.
Yes, what do you need?
Okay, so are there situations where you have like let's say a universe of werewolves, and then just a regular ass person comes into the werewolf situation and join? Like, does it tend to be homogenous, or are we seeing lots of interspecies?
Honestly, both of those exist. Like there are definitely things where like an Omegaverse situation exists, like especially in like if it's a canonical universe where werewolves exist and also they are secret, like you will often see like a regular ass person like come upon werewolves and like they have this weird biology but the person involved does not. It also exists where like this is just a thing like in the world where like some people are just alphas and omegas and that's just like a part of life. You know what I mean? Okay. Not all of it is porn. Most of it is porn. It's fine. You can also call it alpha, beta, omega, ABO. Occasionally people will use alpha, omega. If you are going to use ABO, very important that you keep the slashes in there. If you take the slashes out, that is just a slur for Aboriginal people. So don't do that. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, don't use slurs, you know?
Yeah, good advice.
That is such a lazy, that is so Australian. You know what I mean? Like, good God, come on, really? It's like they only come up with slurs that can be yelled while drunk.
I mean, listen, are there really any other kind of slurs? Okay, we talked about the origins a little bit when we talked about that Omegaverse lawsuit, but we'll recap for anybody who missed or just forgot. It originated in the Supernatural fandom because of course it fucking did. Supernatural already had werewolves, apparently. I have not seen a single episode of Supernatural, but I think it has werewolves. So this was like a natural extension of that. Apparently the television show Dark Angel was also somehow involved. I have also not seen the television show Dark Angel.
I have seen every episode of Dark Angel.
Yeah, tell me about Dark Angel, Chris.
So they don't have werewolves per se, but it heavily revolves around genetically altered super soldiers that were raised like from birth that way. So yeah, they all have like weird quirks and there's different generations of them. And it was Jessica Alba's big breakout.
Yeah, Jensen Ackles was in that and was also, you know, one of the leads in Supernatural famously. So there was apparently some fandom crossover and like there's some Dark Angel shit that wound up in here. Also, here's a terrible quote that I read on Fanlore Wiki while I was doing research, and now I'm making it everybody's problem. Another source of inspiration may have been the existence of bestiality fic featuring one of the Supernatural actor's dogs. People wanted more nodding, but without the bestiality. So that's just some information that we all have to live with now.
Okay, I'm going to use the, where the hell is it? I'm going to use this. The raise my hand icon.
Yes.
Okay, so you want nodding, but no bestiality.
Yes.
I don't, I don't understand how that, like, so just the,
it's just a person who has a knot.
So Sarah, I'm afraid you're going to have to explain what nodding is for our viewers.
We're going to get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's coming. No, we're laying the groundwork, and then eventually we will have a detailed explanation of the mechanics of how this fucking works, and we'll see if we're all still friends at the end of that.
You know, my dad actually has an expression, because of course he does, where he'll just go, you know, you can't unfuck the dog, which is funny now because this entire trope was invented to unfuck the dog.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on. It sounds like. I was not there for the origin of this because I was never into supernatural, and this happened like deep in like a weird corner of the supernatural fandom, and then like gradually spread out to everywhere.
Yeah, I think
was this like the horny GIF era of Tumblr?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, this originated like probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I think they refer to maybe not this, but at least like fanfic wherein people fuck them in the show, don't they, Tracy? Isn't there like
in Supernatural?
Yeah.
Yes,
I think there was an episode about that. Yeah.
They have like a recurring character who shows up every now and again who is writing fan fiction, and they have several episodes that are based on her fan fiction that she's written.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Right. In the end, doesn't that character end up being God?
That is a whole nother level of fan fiction that is written into the story. But yes, absolutely. God is basically writing as a fan fiction author.
Incredible. Yeah, no, I think Supernatural got like real meta at a certain point. I mean, they went on for so long.
If you ran for 30 fucking years, eventually all you have to comment on is yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the players. The basic idea here is that in addition to having what we would consider a typical gender identity, characters within the universe will also develop a subgender, alpha, beta, or omega, that presents in their late teens, that determines their biological function and also often their role in society. Like, we're going to do a very brief version of it here, but like alphas, they're essentially like the dominant partner, the one who does the impregnating. You've got omegas, who are the more submissive partner, the one who is impregnated. You got betas. Betas are just like people. It's wild. Like, everybody else has this like crazy biology going on. And then there's just like betas just hanging out, just doing stuff. They do not factor in a lot. They're generally like background characters. They really only appear in like world building heavy scenarios. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Basic bitch betas.
Mm-hmm. No, it's very funny. Like, I think usually the breakdown is supposed to be like 50% of the population are betas and then 25% alpha and 25% omega. So like half of the world is just like going about their business and everybody else is doing this shit. Okay, time to get weird. We're gonna get into the mechanics. Here's the general trigger warning. This is for folks at home. Y'all like don't get a pass. Like, this is simply the price of friendship. So general trigger warning for graphic descriptions of explicit acts. There's some weird body stuff. I'm a little concerned that like if you are a person who experiences like gender dysphoria, there might be some stuff in here. So like if you have never encountered this particular thing before, maybe do a quick Google before, see if it's something you want to get into. And then like consent issues, not going to get like super into that, but like it's there. It's kind of an inherent part of the thing, unfortunately. So that's going to come up. And then the other caveat is that this originated as an MM trope. Like, so the possibility of these dynamics exists across like all genders, across all combinations of people, like all of that exists, but it was also all like retrofitted in later. So like, we're going to go with the baseline example. It's just two men, and then we're going to get into the variations in a little bit. Okay, so the mechanics. Have you ever seen dogs fucking? Because if so, like, that's a lot of it, but like also not. Also, we're going to get into some kind of wild shit.
Yeah.
Chris probably knows the most about this. He is the most prepared.
Weirdly, yes.
Okay. Step one, there's a heat or a rut. Omegas have heats, alphas have ruts. Sometimes they occur like on a regular schedule, like a period. Sometimes they just come out of nowhere. But basically, someone just gets like too horny to function, like medically too horny for like 3 days. Like, that's just the situation.
It's werewolf ponfar.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's a that's a very good way to describe it. Step 2. Okay.
The self-lubricating buttholes.
Yeah, this is the point where, like, yeah, there's no going back from here. Like, we're just in it. So the Omegas, upon becoming aroused, will start, their buttholes will lubricate themselves like a vagina would, except like more, it's like more lubrication than a vagina would produce. That is the situation. Listen, I am just
It's
reporting
very
the facts.
convenient.
It is. That's just what's happening. Okay.
Okay. I mean, if we're talking about a world where they're werewolves, I think we can allow for self-lubricating buttholes too.
I mean, listen, sometimes there's not werewolves, Joe. You just have to accept it. That's just what's happening. Okay. Then I'm going to assume that everyone understands the basic mechanics of anal sex, because that's pretty straightforward. A dick goes in a butt. That's pretty much what you would expect. Right before the moment of climax, the base of the alpha's dick starts swelling up. That is the knot. They like eventually the knot will catch in the hole. They will ejaculate just like about a gallon of jizz inside of them. The knot plugs up the hole so the jizz stays inside. And then they are stuck together for like 15 minutes to a half an hour. And that's just, they just, hang out, talk about their feelings, like do a crossword together, whatever you want. And then step 4, there might be a mating bond. Like, this is like, it doesn't have to happen. It can happen outside of sex. It's like, it depends on like what the author feels is romantic, frankly. But like, Alpha bites an Omega on the neck, like usually at the moment of climax. They are now married in the eyes of werewolf Jesus, I guess. And then step 5, maybe the Omega is pregnant now. There's a womb in there somewhere where we don't know. So some of the logistics of this are not well thought out. Whether or not the pregnancy occurs is really up to the discretion of the author. People are doing different things here for different reasons. But like, if someone is going to have a baby, it's going to be at this point. There are a lot of
Instantly.
What?
Instantly.
Yes. Instant baby. Okay. There are also a lot of like non-sexual aspects to this. Like, this is mostly a porn trope, but there's also like world building shit surrounding it. The idea of pack dynamics is really heavy in there from like the werewolf shit. Like, some people do this, some people don't. A lot of like found family kind of tropes. A lot of people like to lean into. Scents are very big. Everyone is really good at smelling. They have a heightened sense of smell, except for betas usually, because fuck them. Everyone smells everyone else all of the time. Everyone smells good and also distinctive. There will usually be a lot of descriptions of what people smell like.
Two things you don't want to exist in the same universe: heightened sense of smell and self-lubricating buttholes.
No, it smells great. It smells like vanilla, or whatever.
There you go.
So, Sarah, as you're describing this, I'm imagining, I forgot you were describing like text.
Mm-hmm.
I was immediately thinking of just like visual porn, but
Yeah.
you're describing textual erotica for the most
Yes.
part, right? Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know if this exists in visual pornography. I think the special effects budget would be like a lot, Like,
plus you lose out on the whole, consent exists only in the mind of the narrator thing.
Yeah, that's like the heat and the like that's where the consent issues really lie, because it's like like someone is essentially like horny to the point of being delirious when they're in heat or rut is the general situation, but like everyone's chill with it, so you're like, all right. It's like that kind of situation.
We were all 16 at some point.
Nesting is also a big thing. Omegas, like in the lead up to their heat, will often, like if it's not a situation where it's like, whoops, surprise, will often like create a little nest, like usually on like a bed or a couch, comprised of like things that smell like people they like or are bonded to or wish to fuck. They do usually get fucked in the nest, but it's not like inherently sexual. It's a comfort thing. And then there's a lot of explorations of gender. Like, listen, I'm gonna be straight with you. Some of this is just like really gross porn. Some of it involves a lot of like really reductive depictions of gender. Some of it is just like people writing gay relationships where like one is the man and one is the woman, and that sucks. But also there's some really thoughtful things that people are doing with it. Particularly a lot of like trans and non-binary writers are writing a lot of like really interesting and thoughtful pieces, and I just think that's something we should acknowledge. Like a lot of them are my friends and I'm proud of them, and like this is weird and like yucky in a lot of ways, but there's also some like, God, I feel like I'm really defensive about it. It's like it's not all porn, but also like it's fine if it's porn, you know?
Yeah, and let's be honest, we just watched all the Fast and the Furious movies, and a lot more damage was done to us by doing that than if we read the entire Omega universe or Omegaverse. Let's just be honest.
Spiritually, I agree with you, Joe. Factually, you're incorrect. This hole is deeper than you think.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's filled with slick.
And so incidentally, Sarah, this workshop that I was just doing, that's like about libraries and censorship and stuff, we were talking about, and I'll have to look it up, but there's like this 3-pronged legal test for what is pornography, like in terms of what can be obscene.
Oh yeah, the legal definition of obscenity. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up for later. We can come back to that because I think your presentation here is flowing very well. So I don't want to.
Spoiler alert. Yes.
Okay, so now we're getting to get into all of the variations of Omegaverse stories about people who are not 2 men. So that's Chris. He loves gay porn. You know how it is.
Look, all I'm saying is this is cultural appropriation.
Okay, so Omega females obviously exist. That's just like a cisgender woman who gets like extra wet. Like that's pretty straightforward. Alpha females. We're still figuring this out. Like, listen. Okay, here's the thing. FF, like fiction with 2 women, still like real niche, like even in fandom spaces. So like there's just less of it, so there's been less time for tropes to develop. I think we're all still hung up because nobody's really figured out an answer to the question, where does the dick come from, that everybody can get on board with. So like once we get there, I think we're gonna be good. Also, there's been an increase in the last several years of the men getting pegged agenda. So I feel like that, like things are looking up for alpha females. Like it exists, but you know, it's rare. We're going to get there eventually. There's also stuff with alpha males and omega females. I mean, that's just like, that's the stuff that the Omegaverse lawsuit was about. That's just ultimately, listen, I'm sure there's a way to do this and make it interesting, but like, that's just a cis man and a cis woman banging with like some extra seasoning and like not even that much seasoning. Like this is the white people taco night of the Omegaverse. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. Like, not to be a mean lesbian about it, but like, I just don't think it's that interesting.
Yeah, this is what I meant by the cultural appropriation angle.
Yeah.
So Sarah, here's my question. Why does there have to be a dick?
There doesn't. And I
Okay.
think that's the next one. Alpha and Omega does exist. Like, it's this is a very recent phenomenon. Like, I've noticed this within the past couple of years. But like, you can people are getting creative with it at this point. Like, it's less popular. I don't know.
When there's two male alphas, does the not complicate the reach around?
That's really not the issue that generally arises, I have to say. But I think you've raised an interesting point.
We need to think through the logistics of these things.
Yeah. I mean, the mechanics of it are pretty straightforward. There's just like some extra stuff, but like I think we all understand how gay people have sex, you know? So,
because that'd be like the one situation where like lubrication has to come into play.
Yeah.
In the Omegaverse.
Yeah.
They like keep an Omega around as like a cow. It's just like, gonna go milk the lube cow. I'll be right back.
I think you've just created an incredible bit of world building, Chris. Great job. And then finally, group sex, like in situation where like the pack dynamics are really prevalent. Often it's just that everyone is fucking everyone, like, and good for them.
Yeah, but how awkward is the 20 minutes after an orgy when like half the people are physically attached to each other?
Yeah.
And you can't leave the puddle.
You just gotta chill for a while. You just gotta get real comfortable with that.
It's like trying to get out. It's sort of like the opposite of Twister. You're like, okay, I'm gonna move the okay, and then.
Okay, here are some logistical questions you may have that I've thought of. When I'm done, you can feel free to bring up any that you have thought of if they have arisen. How often do heats and ruts happen? Honestly, not clear. Like, it's pretty much up to the individual discretion of the author. Sometimes it seems like they happen once a month, like a period. I'm like, that doesn't seem like, how does the does the Omegaverse exist outside of capitalism? Because like, how is the economy functioning? And if everybody is just like out for 3 days a month getting fucked,
Goals.
What?
Goals.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the real appeal of Omegaverse, I think. Like, the idea that like you can just call off of work because you're too horny. That's the dream, honestly.
Yeah, in the Omegaverse, does FMLA cover heats and ruts? Because it should.
Yeah, I think it depends on what country you're in, you know?
Yeah, it says a lot about Star Trek nerds, like myself, that like the fantasy there is, no, you're totally logical and reasonable, have no emotions, but every 7 years you fuck till someone dies.
Yep. All right. Next, where baby come out?
To be fair, Junior also never answers this question.
This is often glossed over, but for obvious reasons, but generally, same way it went in. This is my personal like bugaboo with the logistics of the Omegaverse. Because like, listen, I'm not going to claim to be an expert in anatomy, but I just feel like it's a bad idea for the poop hole and the baby hole to be the same hole. Which does bring us to our next question. Why do male Omegas not just have vaginas? It would solve a lot of problems. Honestly, this is very complicated. I will say this has been increasingly the situation in recent years. Honestly, I think a lot of it is just that this trope originated at a point where fandom was like really aggressively gynophobic. Like, we don't have time to get into all of fandom history, but like, I feel like right now the divide in like transformative fandom spaces is between like queer fans and cishet fans. And the divide like at this point was between like people who write slash fiction, so fiction between two men, and people who wrote het, because like bisexual and trans people like did not exist in fan fiction until like really recently. So honestly, like probably transphobia, but like also like anytime that somebody writes a character who presents in a particular way having genitals that do not match that presentation but does not make them explicitly trans, like the question has arisen, like, is this transphobic? Which like is a very fair question, definitely worth asking. And I think a lot of people just don't want to deal with that, you know? It's like, I don't want to fuck this up. So, but like, yeah, there's a lot of trans issues involving ABO that like I do not feel qualified to cover, especially in this like goofy, lighthearted, like drunk presentation, but like that's definitely a thing. And then what are betas doing? Well, everyone else is fucking. No one knows.
Working.
Yeah, developing
keeping the
their
economy
professional
going.
Yeah, the betas are keeping the economy going while everybody else is calling out once a month to bone in a pile of clothes. Yeah.
Someone's got to wake up at dawn to milk all those Omega cows.
Oh, and then this is just like some fun statistical stuff. Archive of Our Own is like one of the big fan fiction sites, and they have a very extensive tagging system and a really high-powered search functionality. So like it's really easy to mine data from them. So we're gonna look into like how much of this exists and like what fandoms is getting written in and that kind of thing. Okay. So I was not able to determine how many works there are on the archive in total. The most recent figures I was able to get were that they hit 7 million individual works in December of 2020. So it's definitely way more than that now. Currently, as you can see, there are 118,657 works tagged with Alpha, Beta, Omega. This is all like self-reported, like some people like fuck around and don't tag. So it's probably slightly more than this, but this is the best numbers that we have to go on. For comparison, if you look at stuff that's tagged as a coffee shop AU, which is weirdly one of the most popular AU types. Yeah, fan fiction is very horny. Fan fiction is also like excessively normcore. It's a weird duality. So, but coffee shops AU, there's only about 28,000 of those tagged, so like significantly less. If you look at stuff that's tagged like with another general porn trope like BDSM, that's about 350,000. So like it's increasingly popular. It's still not like as popular as other things, like more typical things. Like it gets talked about a lot because it's weird. It's still only like mildly popular.
It would be interesting to see how many of those three categories are double counts or triple counts.
Oh yeah, like there's definitely some overlap between all of these. Like that's one of the things about an Alpha, Beta, Omega AU is like you can definitely layer it on top of other things. Like it's very easily layered on top of like the regular canon setting. But like if you want to put everybody on a spaceship and also make it an Alpha, Beta, Omega AU, you can also do that. So like yeah, there's definitely overlap here.
And Sarah, this is making me think of like a study I could do. So if you want to be a co-author later, let me know.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because and also just separately, I'm thinking of webcomics that I've been into, just like kind of standard vanilla webcomics. A lot of them have someone who's a barista. So like I could totally see.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was definitely reading a lot of questionable content back in the day. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I showed it to Tracy, and I think, Tracy, didn't you just like straight up read it like from the beginning through like 2012 or something like that?
Yeah, I did.
Tracy just like read the whole thing. It's getting to the point now where it's clear that Jeff Jock or Jacques, however you say his last name, just has like some sort of robot fetish because now everyone's a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of robot stuff. Yeah, I fell off of that several years ago, but yeah.
So, Joe, actually, if you want a fantastic example of a coffee shop AU that I know you have experienced, it's called The Matrix Resurrection.
That's right.
Which is 100% a coffee shop AU. Sarah, I am so excited.
I know, I still got to watch this.
The minute we can like get together in person again, I am going to have you watch it with all of these dynamics in mind.
Yeah. And we cut that discussion out of our last podcast for time, so we can have that discussion again when Sarah watches it.
Okay, sounds good. And then here's a breakdown of like the content rating, I guess would be the best way to put it. Fanfiction uses its own particular rating system. I remember like back in the day, like when fanfiction.net was first getting started, it was just the MPAA rating system. And then the MPAA came in and was like, no, you can't do this. Because it's trademarked or something. Like you gotta shut this down. So this is the general rating scale that most fanfiction archives uses. There's this is arranged by how many, by order of most used, but it's, general audiences is like a G rating, teen and up audiences is like a PG-13. No one can decide what mature actually means. Like, we know that explicit is porn, and mature exists like somewhere between that and the teen rating, but like no one can decide functionally what that means in a written format. So like there might be sex in those, but we just don't know. There's no way of knowing.
That's like those authors that write erotica but get really mad when people call it erotica.
Probably. There's always a lot of it, and I'm always surprised because like basically everybody I know like just like sets it as a filter to explicit, and like it's like if they're writing porn, like it's not being seen by anyone. Like it's getting filtered out. And then
it's
like
just
not rated is just,
yeah, it's just a lot of we need to talk about Kevin fanfic. Like really deep, mature conversation.
Just all written. It's just all M for violence. Yeah.
It's the My Dinner with Andre of the ABO.
Yeah. So like, I'm trying to think what the distinction between like R and NC-17 is.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
usually whether it was written by a virgin or not.
I would say that explicit is definitely like beyond NC-17. Like it's just fully pornography. It's like graphic, but like no one can decide. Like mature, like theoretically is the same level as like an R-rated movie, but in terms of like a written work, like what does that look like? Like no one can decide. This is an ongoing community issue. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, a lot of teen stuff, at least back in the day. Like, obviously, I'm out of the loop on a lot of literotica. But a lot of it in that teen stuff was written by teenage virgins.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Who like to play around the edges of sex and then will try to depict something that they only know about from also reading literotica stuff. And so you get a really weird insular universe. There's probably some 15-year-olds out there who think that nodding is just how sex works.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So then we also have, these are the 10 most popular fandoms in the ABO tag. Some of these make a lot of sense. Supernatural coming in at number 3, like they originated the trope, like that checks out. Probably over time they will fall off this list just because like the show is over. It's kind of a dead fandom now. Like they'll be, like continually produce less and less content as time goes on. It's the same thing for like Teen Wolf. Like Teen Wolf is obviously about werewolves, so like ABO was really popular. It also was airing like in the early to mid 2000s or like 20 teens. So like it was coming up like just as ABO was starting to get really popular. So like it dovetailed really nicely. So like that's still like really high, even though it's been a few off the air for a few years. Like probably that's going to fall off eventually. Most of these are on here, I think, just because they're like giant fandoms. So like BTS is at the top of like every popular tag. Like that's number one in everything, just because it's like the current juggernaut fandom. Like it's producing so much content. I'm not surprised it's number one here. BTS is like notoriously horny also. There are some here like Marvel, like that's not surprising. Like that's also a big juggernaut fandom. Like there's 3 different Marvel related tags here. Like, yeah, that checks out. Some of these I don't have a good explanation for.
How was Yuri so low?
I mean, it came out several years ago. I think it was probably producing a lot of ABO like as it was airing, but like the like as like once the like canon source of content for something dries up, like it starts to go down, like the amount of content that fandom produces. Like that's just the inevitable life cycle of a fandom, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense that My Hero Academia will keep chugging along.
Yeah, I don't know anything about My Hero Academia.
My Hero Academia is the perfect breeding ground for this sort of thing.
Okay.
Because it's a world full of people with superpowers, wildly divergent and biologically impossible body types.
Okay.
And lots of emotion. Just everyone is super emotional.
That makes more sense. Like I was like, I don't know anything about My Hero Academia. I was like, I don't know that, but sure. The
main character is a guy who just wanted to be a superhero so bad that someone felt bad for him and made him a superhero.
Okay.
He cries so hard it forces him into the ground.
That does remind me also, like, all K-pop content having a lot of ABO, like that does make sense. Like a big part of the marketing is like how much all of them like have a genuine connection with each other. Like they all live together in a dorm. Like that really does factor into like the pack dynamic aspect of it. So like some K-pop group is probably going to be on this list like from now until the end of time. Isn't Haikyuu like the gay volleyball anime?
Yes. Also, I guarantee you there's a Yu Yu Hakusho renaissance going on that will definitely show up here because those pack dynamics were literally built into the show that ended airing way before this trope ever existed.
Yeah, and that's one of those that was like made in Japan in what, like the 80s or something, and then it came over here for Adult Swim in like
I want to say it was
90s.
the 90s, but yeah, it was something like that. Like it definitely hit here later and then got huge on Adult Swim. And I still love it with all of my heart.
I do too. Is this Voltron that they're talking about, incidentally speaking of that sort of thing? Is this the new Netflix Voltron, or is this?
Yeah, that's Netflix Voltron. Okay. Netflix Voltron had a very large fandom. They like I was not in it. I was like only an outside observer. It seemed like they were always fighting about shit.
Well, yeah, because that show started strong and then completely shit the bed in its last season.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, but it was like this beloved franchise that then came back with better animation and like just straight up like queer content in the show. So of course it became a fandom juggernaut.
Yep.
Also, like you just know, yeah, there you go.
And that is the end of my presentation.
The lion fuck.
Please describe for our listeners what is occurring in this
GIF. For our listeners at home, the final slide of my presentation is some donuts being lovingly filled with pastry cream in GIF form. So thank you for enjoying my presentation. Good night and good luck.
So
excellent, thank you.
Amazing. This is the best format we've ever done. Hands down.
I learned so much. I am so grateful. Thank you, Sarah. That was
You're
like
welcome.
Truly informative and entertaining.
It was.
I did not know anything about this universe, and only what you had mentioned before, and now I feel like I have a really good grasp on it. So
Good.
Yeah, Sarah, this is a conference presentation. Like this, it was seriously. I mean, like, it's been a long time since I've been to a humanities conference, but like this is totally on par. You know, where you could go in. I mean, it was informative. Like Tracy said, I feel the same way. I learned something.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Well done.
So, what do we do now? Do we have, I feel like we all probably have questions.
If you have questions, I can definitely field questions.
well, so I guess
Put some
like
A's in your queue.
yeah. So I'm super curious, like, so it started out as like MM, right? And you said that they struggled to have this FF, emergence. But I feel like if MM can have a baby and the baby is born out the ass, then how can we not have two women have sex in some sort of manner that produces a child that's born out of whatever orifice imaginable?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the issue is like not the logistics of it. It's just that like FF is like so much less popular than everything else. Like it's still like a very niche is like thing. Like
It's probably worth clarifying that the vast majority of this content is produced and consumed by heterosexual women.
No.
But what I mean, originally with the male stuff.
I'm kind of like, because like, listen, I was in fandom already at that point, and like I was identifying as straight at that point.
That is true.
Like
that is true.
That is definitely the reputation, and I think it was a lot of straight women, but also I think it was a lot of people who were figuring some stuff out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
what's the it made me think, what's the manga genre that is MM, but it's kind of for women in Japan? What the fuck is that called? Is that Yuri? Okay, yeah.
No, so, Yuri is what you're thinking of. Yaoi. Yuri is the one with women.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You're right. That is what I'm thinking of, Sarah.
Yeah, boys love is also used a lot. Yeah, like it's a much more popular thing in East and Southeast Asia for sure. Because like East and Southeast Asia has apparently figured out that young women are also horny. You know?
Go figure.
Yes, but also you can, that forbidden love angle of two men.
Yeah.
Doesn't get into the, weird, especially Japanese sexual politics of a woman being involved.
Yeah. Like, listen, a big part of early slash fiction is just like misogyny. Like, which is ironic considering that like 99% of the participants in fandom are women.
Yeah.
But like, that's just always been a thing. Like, we're working on it. We're making great strides, but like, it's still kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Can we talk about what pregnancy represents in each of these situations? Because I
like metaphorically?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes it's just horny, Joe. Like,
okay, right. But it makes me think, and I cannot remember what the fuck this is called, but there's a whole thing with like alien eggs, with like people being impregnated with alien eggs, and there's
that's oviposition. Yeah.
Right. And so there's like sex toys that exist for this, like in the world, which I guess is also like pregnancy related. So I feel like there's probably a whole meta discourse to be had specifically about that.
Look, there's a whole, like, it's not even a subgenre, a whole meta genre of just mpreg, right? Where it's just male pregnancy.
Mpreg exists as a concept like outside of ABO. Like, and Craig definitely came first. Like, really, ABO is just like collecting a lot of tropes that like a lot of people have like overlapping and just like putting them in one thing, like in one shared universe.
Ironically, it's the My Hero Academia of erotic fan fiction.
I don't know what that means.
That's an accurate statement.
It is.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, My Hero Academia was the shonen genre of anime. Someone just sat down and like boiled it down to like a black tar heroin base, and it's just like, what are the like most addictive qualities of all of these other properties, and then they reverse engineered My Hero Academia.
Yeah, I imagine that came about where someone's like, how do we make, like you're saying, Chris, Yu Yu Hakusho except with X-Men or Marvel characters?
Right. Yeah. No, it's set in a school. There's
yeah, I get why that's popular. That's kryptonite.
Yeah. No, it's a bunch of kids in a school, and there's superheroes, and there's villains, and there's horniness, and there's one in all these shows. There's one character, I call it the Krillin, whose entire personality trait is just small and horny. And his superpower is making balls.
Sure.
His head actually kind of looks like a penis, so it's
And he just makes sticky balls.
Yes,
that's his
Absolutely.
power. He's sticky ball boy who's horny, and the person he's most horny for constantly is a girl who's invisible. Not a girl who can turn invisible, a girl who just is invisible.
It's the mystery of her, Chris. We don't know much about her. It's she's everything you ever wanted her to be, and she'll never disappoint.
Just constantly trying to get those sticky balls on her.
She's like Krillin's Canadian girlfriend, right? So, okay, I feel like, Chris, you could totally do one on just weird recent anime. So who's going next? That's the question, because we are at 55 minutes of this, so that was perfect timing, Sarah.
I was worried it was either going to be too long or not long enough, so I'm happy with that.
Just right. Who wants to
That's
go
often
next?
a nodding problem.
I'm gonna have to find a GIF that's like, I'm sure GIFs of nodding exist.
Oh Lord.
Oh, definitely.
So I apologize for all the viruses our computer's about to get, Tracy, but I gotta find it. I have to do, it's for science.
Yeah, you're gonna run across a lot of custom made, really low poly GIF sets, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you can just get on the Bad Dragon website and just cut out the middleman there.
Bad Dragon, okay. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, just get on DeviantArt. And,
Don't you know what Bad Dragon is?
I have no idea what Bad Dragon is.
Oh no.
No, okay, no.
No, I
Sarah,
don't.
why are you sending him down dark alleys?
What were you sending me blind into, Sarah?
No, I didn't think I was sending you blind into it. I thought everybody knew what Bad Dragon is. It's a website of like custom like weird dick dildos. So it's
like sex toys that you would order.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
They're very famous.
I'm clearly out of the loop.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of loops.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sarah. So we'll figure out who's going to go next time and what the presentation will be.
Well, I think it's better if just like no one knows. Like you just show up blind and it's like, all right, motherfucker, strap in. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chris, are you going next time though?
There's nothing I know.
You know
That's
the
so
thing.
not true.
I know like
so
this much about any, like you're like, ooh, recent anime stuff. I'm like, I'm not touching that. Nope.
Well, just like a single anime. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Or do literally whatever you want, Chris.
No,
like,
you put my fucking Twitter handle in these descriptions. No, I'm not gonna have. Do you know what these people are like?
Yeah, it's a good point.
A bunch of them tried to overthrow the government last year. I'm not fucking with these people.
When all those people with anime avatars start showing up in your DMs, you're in trouble.
What if you rank all of the Star Trek characters, like the Star Trek Next Generation characters, by how easily you could take them in a fight?
I mean, I think it's just like Wesley Crusher. And then like end of list.
Data's disembodied head, maybe like a couple more.
Maybe Quark on a bad day.
I mean, like you can rank them based on like how long you would last.
We're still talking about fighting, or
I mean, whatever you want. I support you.
There you go. Now this is the Riker maneuver.
We're definitely gonna have to bring Deep Space Nine into it if we're doing the latter.
I'll figure something out.
Yeah. All right. Well, here, let me stop recording. So stay tuned next time for Chris's presentation. Excellent. All right, I'm gonna stop. That's it for Season 5, Episode 14 of Gateway Geeks Podcast, Piping Knot, an explanation and exploration of the Omegaverse. If this doesn't get us fired, I don't know what will. Thanks to Sarah Jane Connor on this one for starting us off, and thanks for listening. Remember, you can find us on Amazon and Audible, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This episode is with Sarah Jane Connor, Tracy Gomillion, Chris Knetzer, and me, Joe Kohlburn. I was the editor, and it was produced by Sarah and me.